All right, everybody, welcome in. My name is Adam, also known as at YFC Sports V12. I'm joined by my guy, Chris Duffy. Duff, pleasure to have you back for NFL Week 2, man. I'm excited here today. How are you doing this morning?
Doing great, man. Same thing as last week. I got my coffee and my Wheaties in and ready to go.
That's right,
Uh,
brother. Yeah, we got to
you know,
get going.
last week was a fun week, other than the Packers losing, and we ready to roll it again, and hopefully don't get
Yeah.
overconfident here and can cash again.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you guys checked us out, there is in our comments a link to our free Discord, and our winning lineups room was absolutely on fire. I think that one of the biggest things, especially for NFL Week 1, you're dealing with an entire offseason and preseason of news and different things that you're looking at. So I think the biggest thing is that you just try to sift through the information and you try to make it to where you can look a little bit outside what the group think is, and generally the entire the industry of DFS, all the coaches, writers, analysis, and everybody there, they're all looking at somewhat of the same players. Everybody kind of gets on the same thing, and I think that the biggest thing is looking at that and saying, hey, is this really the right player? Is this just what everybody's on and I'm getting pushed that way? And I think it was really big, obviously, this last week. I know when I put out the course and everything, I definitely strayed away from not locking in Christian McCaffrey. I just didn't feel like he was a must. And I think that was kind of keys to lineups last week, because obviously he did not put up the performance that you thought he would. It was a very poor performance in general from the studs, but some of them crushed, man. Some of these wide receivers, these pay-ups, these Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams. I know that one had to hurt, Duff, seeing Devontae Adams going crush.
Oh my god! Yeah, that was a tough one to watch. I had actually something going on. Usually, I don't have anything going on during the Packers game, but
Yeah.
this Sunday I ended up having something going on, and I had left at halftime, and it didn't really hurt my feelings.
Yeah, no doubt, man. It was surprising, obviously. I mean, there was a lot of things for us to ascertain, and we'll kind of touch on some things today as we go down. But obviously, Packers, that was a big deal. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, not ideal for him. I don't think that they're on the slate for this Sunday, so you're going to get a little bit of a reprieve there. But there's a lot of notable players that are not on this particular Sunday main slate. We're talking about the DraftKings and FanDuel slate for 1 p.m. Eastern, September 18th, this Sunday, which is tomorrow for us. So we're digging in on a Saturday morning. It is, so obviously news can change. The link for our free Discord is linked in our comments, so be sure to check that out. It is free to get in. Obviously, yourfilterschoice.com. We are running a promo special right now for half off memberships, which is about $25, which is going to be absolute steal in the industry for you guys to come in and then obviously get access to all of our sports, all of our articles, all of our premium chats, which is on our Discord where I hang out. And I had a lot of some guys ask me in our winning lineup stream, and I had some people DM me, like, hey, why were you on Greg Dortch at the last minute and stuff? And was he in your player pool? And a lot of these things change, man. I'm talking about 15 minutes up until lock. I think I was changing my main lineup, which actually did really well for me. So winning lineup stream, check that out, yourfilterschoice.com. I will do a quick screen share here in a second, because I do want to mention to people that they always talk about we always talk about our cheat sheet, right, Duff? I want to make sure that everybody can see what we are looking at right now. It's currently under construction, so what I'm going to do is I'm not going to screen share that. Hold on one second. I thought I was going to screen share that, but I'm going to do it one more time here. And I am going to move over to yourfilterschoice.com. I hope you guys can see that as a screen share. This is our website, and you can jump in and you can also sign up as well for premium access. There is our football cheat sheet, which is right here. And right now it is under a little bit of construction. We'll get it updated for you, but obviously it does have quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight ends, defensive, special teams, DK and FanDuel ownership percentages, college football as well. So that's something for you guys, to take a look at. And yeah, man, I think we should be good to go there. Am I back on the screen, Def? I need to make sure that I'm not just sharing my screen on the show. So.
To be honest, I don't know. I apologize to everybody. I don't think that actually went through for some reason, because it was working fine last week. But I didn't see the share screen part. But like you said, it's under construction, and the gist of it is, if you go to the website, you should be able to see most everything by position.
Yeah, let me try. I think I can do it one more time. Let me try it again, guys. Like I said, I want to make sure they can see it, and I think it's right here. Let's try this. Is that right, Duff?
There you go. Yep.
All right. Sorry, guys. My technical difficulties here, but yourfielderschoice.com, you go to your football cheat sheet on there. Obviously, you can come in here and then you can see all of the articles and everything like that. That is under construction. It's got your positional lineups and everything like that. I'm actually showing you this time the correct way. And obviously, you get your ownerships, your teams, your Vegas spreads, your implied totals, some information about the particular opponents that they're going on. But yeah, man, super slick website. Check it out. Obviously, all of our articles are on here. If they're premium, you'll know whenever you try to come in. Some of them are behind the paywall. Some of them are going to be free, but you have our YouTube channel, our Discord, tools, projections, some of our partners, PointsBet, PrizePicks, and BetMGM. That is yourfielderschoice.com. Check that out, guys. We're going to be jumping back in, and we're going to start here with our quarterback position for the NFL DFS slate. We've talked about the website. We've talked about the specials. Now we're going to get in to it, Duff. I'm going to let you lead off here. I have definitely some takes. I want to tell you, just to kind of tee you up here, that the ownership darling for quarterbacks on this particular slate right now, it looks like Derek Carr at 6.2K on DraftKings, and we'll have his FanDuel price also for you as well. But Trey Lance, Matt Stafford are kind of the top three in ownership that are looking double digit and above on percentages. But I want to say, I want to put the ball in your court. Who do you like right now at quarterback?
So as far as ownership, I don't think they're going to be high enough owned to even affect much, to be honest with you. I think for quarterback, it's going to be spread out. So I'm not really worrying about ownership on this slate. I'm just going to kind of go over the guys I like, take some stands, just like we did last week, and just try to play smart. If I'm paying up right now, I got written down Murray, of course, and Jackson. Especially if J.K. Dobbins is out again. I always like his floor, his rushing upside. He actually didn't rush as much last week as I'd liked it. He actually ended up in my main line. I did about 2-3 alt lines last week, just kind of messing around with things, just a couple little pivots. But if I had to choose right now, it's going to be Kyler. The total, these 4:00 games are fun ones. They're usually the higher total games. I think that game's the highest total on the slate. Vegas has them playing from behind. The Raiders defense isn't extremely good. And so I like Kyler here if I was paying up. Most likely going to go down. And, I do like Carr. I suppose if you're paying up, are you on the same, you on board with what I'm saying there?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Obviously, Kyler Murray is up there, a high total. Anytime that these NFC West teams are going to go after, there's going to be, I would say, some high-scoring games. It seems like over the years that defense was kind of prominent earlier the last, 2 or 3 years, and then obviously the offenses took over. We know that Arizona is definitely going to be a high-scoring team. They were in a high-scoring game with KC this last week. But obviously the Raiders, they can light it up now with their new toy. I guess Devontae Adams is killing it, and they're just peppering him with targets. You got the Rams out there, the 49ers. These are teams that can light it up. They do have offensive talent. So I think that for sure Kyler Murray in a divisional game here. Actually, that's not a divisional game. I apologize. They're both in the West, but the AFC West, the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Broncos. I just think any team in the West in general, NFC or AFC, are going to be pretty high scoring just from the looks of it. I think that it is probably going to be a pay down. I do kind of look at, I don't know, like I get that his ownership is probably a little bit lower, and he's a little bit lower, but he's above some of these notable guys like Derek Carr and Matt Stafford. And obviously, Matt Stafford's in a huge total, 28.5 implied points for the Rams, but it's kind of hard to trust. I don't know what's going on with his elbow and everything like that, but I'm honestly, I'm really thinking about picking on the Cowboys, man. Obviously, I'm an Eagles fan, but I think Joe Burrow, he was underwhelming, obviously, in week 1. I think he threw 4 interceptions, was the buzz around the industry, but I think that Joe Burrow, man, could really do something here. I'm not 100% sure on the status of T. Higgins. We may dig into that later, but Joe Burrow just seems like he's in a spot here where he's going to go overlooked a little bit. 6.6K on DraftKings, and I think he's 7.9K. He follows the 4th highest quarterback in salary on FanDuel, and he is the 4th highest on DraftKings. Both the sites seem to line up on how they're ranking their salaried quarterbacks. So definitely somebody I'm looking at. Obviously, Trey Lance, I like as well. I think you may like him as well from a value standpoint. 5.7K. Hopefully, we see his legs here. It was kind of weird, man, watching that Seahawks and Denver game. I was like, not really sure. Like, are the Seahawks good or is Denver bad? I think it's more Denver being bad and not executing. Poor, game plan, poor clock management. So you have Trey Lance here, 7.5K on FanDuel. He's not as much of a value, but obviously he's more of a value on DraftKings at only 5.7K. Do you have any thoughts on Trey Lance or anybody else down low?
Yeah, let me backtrack a little bit. I do like getting, and I know I said I like Kyler, but I'm going to get Kyler at low owned.
Yeah.
Sure. You got a 4 o'clock game, and I'm not big into late game hammers or whatnot, but it's just he's a dual threat quarterback. I'm getting low owned. He can surely get there to 25, 30 points. Yeah. And if you can find the right spot, so he's in consideration as one of my cores. Quarterback. I agree with Burrow. Max. I would love to match him up with one of his receivers. I'm definitely on board with Carr. Not quite sure about Lance yet, but his price is right. I know the industry is going to like him. Like I said, the ownership's going to be spread out, so I don't know if you're necessarily going to win it with quarterback this week, but these guys are in play. I'm on board with playing Lance, and maybe even Mariota. They're playing from behind, dual threat quarterback. There's a lot of quarterbacks here you can kind of throw in. I guess I rank it Carr, and then Lance probably. Burrow I'll probably keep for GPP.
I think Mariota, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought him up because I was looking at him too. And I think that's great game theory for us to look at as well, is that he's literally priced right where Trey Lance is, right underneath him. Trey Lance is going to get all the ownership in that area. And I don't think people are very high on Tua. He had some, he could be an efficient quarterback, but a lot of the offseason speak was that Tua's his great arm and he's so accurate. He threw some ducks, wide open guys, man, into it was rough. So I think that Mariota, for sure, he ran 17 times in week 1, Duff. So
I thought was it 17 or 12? I think
I don't know. I have to double check.
He had 12 rushing attempts,
12 times. 12 times.
Yeah, but 72 yards, so he's going to run it. And the Rams, they like to rush with Donald in there, and
I think that you're right. Yeah, I mean, he could definitely have to use his legs here. I mean, the Rams defense, for what it's worth, they got pretty exposed week 1. I mean, the Bills really took it to them, took them to the woodshed there. So, guys, we're going to move over to the running back position. Obviously, we could circle back for any GPP stacks with our quarterbacks. But, Duff, looking at ownership right now, just from from an outside looking in, Darrell Henderson Jr. obviously took over. Cam Akers was the expected running back 1 for the Rams. He obviously shows up here, and he's looking at getting at least 25, if not more, % ownership, which usually translate to close to 50 or 60% in cash games whenever we get a little bit closer to the lock. Obviously, on both sites, he is very high owned. He's not the highest on FanDuel, which we can cover, but he's 5.7K on FanDuel, which is on DraftKings, which is extremely cheap, and then on FanDuel he is 6.2K. So you have to look at these guys here that are value from ownership. Saquon Barkley is obviously somebody that's owned very high, but let's look down the salary list and we can talk about those obvious ownership plays as we going in. Do you have any interest in anybody that's above 7K here?
Yeah, definitely. Barkley is above 7K, but I'm on your guy. I'm pretty high on Mixon, your guy here. You talked about attacking the Cowboys, and Mixon is going to be a workhorse this year. 27 carries last week. Targeted 9 times. He only went up $100, and he's playing the Cowboys. So, definitely, I'm high on Mixon. I don't know what his ownership is. I'm not really worried about his ownership. He's not above some of these guys. And Taylor is an absolute beast. 99 is going to be a lot. And then above 7K, and to answer your question, I'm still on McCaffrey.
Yeah.
I think he'll get lower ownership. This is where last week everybody played him at high ownership and he failed. he didn't, 15.5. I had him at basically in every cash line in cash. So he didn't. You got to remember, a lot of this is lineup construction.
Right.
So you got to still play smart plays. So McCaffrey, I think, was a smart play last week. I'm not going against what you're saying about maybe being different, but you got to look at lineup construction. If your lineup construction is fine without using him, go for it, right? But don't just do it to do it. Have a reason for it. And I think this week I might go back to him. I think he got off a slow start. He only had 33 rushing yards. He's playing the Giants this week. It's I still like him at lower ownership. He is right. His price did go up, but I mean, if I'm looking above 7K, I'll go back to McCaffrey here, and I'll go back to Mixon.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, definitely on board with Mixon. I kind of fell in love with him, with the hour up until lock. I liked him a lot. I put him in the list in our premium Discord of running back ones that I liked that I didn't think you had to have a must-have. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor was on that list. And I do think you're right. Jonathan Taylor is going to be that guy that you're probably just going to play because he's just so good. That offensive line is so good. And he's going up here against Jacksonville. So divisional matchup, there is no wins in any of the columns for any of the AFC South teams. So somebody's got to take control of that division. Obviously, the Indianapolis look to be the front runners, I would think. I think the Texans were very lucky to get that to a tie. But, obviously week one, there's a lot to be said with that. But I do want to mention, Mixon is definitely, I'm high up on there. But Barkley, he produced, man, like 36.4. He had one touchdown, but he had 7 targets and 6 catches in the pass game. You're talking about, only running the ball 18 times. We don't know a whole lot about offenses after week one. I think we can kind of speculate, but I think Barkley looked really healthy. I saw all of his runs, and I was very much like, wow, we got to keep an eye out for this team, divisional wise, because, I'm not very high on Danny Dimes at quarterback. They have a lot of different receivers. If they can stay healthy, that could be an impact, but Barkley just looked good, man. So I think that up top, he's going to be somebody on DraftKings. He's still priced a little too cheap. He's right there with Mixon. I think there's a very good possibility you're going to see a lot of Barkley Mixon lineups that are going to come out. So that's something to keep an eye out for. On FanDuel, it's kind of the same thing. I actually would probably prefer, I know Jonathan Taylor is 10K on FanDuel, but he might be somebody that I just hammer in just based off of that scoring. You're not getting the full PPR from your receiving backs. So obviously he's somebody to look at there. I know Barkley's priced up at 8.8 there. Christian McCaffrey is 9.0, but I absolutely agree with you. I think if you're going to play McCaffrey, this is the time you got to grow some balls here, and this is where you got to play him because he's not going to be owned, and he's going to be in this matchup where Matt Rule and that offense, that team. I mean, he's on a prove-it season. So from a coaching standpoint, I highlighted, I think, this last week that they had a new offensive coordinator, new O-line coach. They had the same running backs coach, but there was a lot of changes there. New quarterback with Baker Mayfield. So I think that they needed to see week one, what they could or couldn't do, and obviously they need to get back to giving that ball to McCaffrey and just letting him do his thing. Ride the guy that got you there, I guess. He's that offense, so hopefully they go back to him. We're speaking mid-range, kind of digging in on DraftKings. There's definitely some intriguing plays. Leonard Fournette, his particular injury status should be something we should keep an eye on. He wasn't on main slate last week because of their primetime game, but 6.7K. Definitely somebody who I really like there, especially if he's healthy here. Tampa Bay seems to want to take some pressure off Brady. They have some injuries depending on Chris Godwin's status and whatnot, but I think Leonard Fournette, he can definitely be an impact player there. Javonte Williams, 6.5K, going against Houston here. Houston can be very exposed against the running back position. But I'm seeing some love here, right here for Antonio Gibson again, 6.2K. You got, he kind of came out. McKissick was somebody that we saw that was supposed to, at least I thought he was supposed to come out and really take a stranglehold on this running game for the Washington Commanders. But it looks like it was Gibson, and it was his show. McKissick only 3 carries, 3 targets. Obviously, they leaned on Gibson here. So, yeah, man, those are all mid-range plays, kind of getting down. And we talked about ending on Darrell Henderson at 5.7K. You get to that value range. Anything else out the mid-range stuff that you like, of guys that are just kind of sticking out to you maybe?
No, you name most of them. I definitely like Gibson. He's probably one of my probably be overweight on him. I was overweight on him last week, and maybe he got a little more targets than he normally would. But he got 8 targets, caught seven balls. Ran 14 times. I think he'll run about 13 to 15 times this time, catch about 3 or 4 balls. So, and he's still priced pretty reasonable. So he's one of my main guys. One of my biggest stands, I think, and I don't know. This is maybe where I'm going to get myself in trouble. I'm not. If I had to do my cash game right now, I'm not having Henderson in it. We've dealt with the Rams running back situation before. We dealt with it last week with Akers. Now it's him. And I guess if you just click on Akers' name, I like Akers for GPP a little bit, but I'm not going to push everybody. But I'm not going to tell anybody to play the highest owner, not play Henderson if he's going to be the highest owned running back. But a few times last year we got burnt by the Rams running backs, and I guess McVay is saying he wants an increased level of urgency. If you just clicked on Akers' name, and what if Akers comes out this week in practice and just plays his heart out and gets 10, 11 carries? That's not unreasonable. And Henderson only had 13 carries last week. He did catch the ball 5 times. So, and his price is $5,700. I understand that, but I don't know, man. I've been burnt by these Rams running backs before, and I got other guys I like Gibson and Barkley and Mixon, and the reindeers there. But I do understand the price play, and I'm not going to totally ignore him.
I will say though, Duff, that you're right. Darrell Henderson chalk day or Cam Akers chalk day. Those running backs for the Rams, it's never fun, and they never usually turn out. That's just kind of one of those position Rams running backs where you think that you got it pegged down. You're right. It's not like Akers is hurt, right? Like they're both healthy. They're both going to play. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on there. I mean, I really like that. That's something that, I think that you're right. You would start out with 2 kind of priced up running backs, depending on who you grab there and try to find some value elsewhere. But these running backs that are going to get work, the Mixons, the Barkleys, the Taylors, McCaffrey, these are all guys. Antonio Gibson, absolutely people that we can look at there. I do want to mention somebody. I want to get your take on it, but with the highest scoring game of the week, you have the Cardinals and the Raiders. Those running backs, they kind of underperformed. Josh Jacobs, James Conner actually wasn't too bad. And I will say I do like James Conner actually a lot. He's sub 7K. If I'm thinking at it from a game theory standpoint, he caught 5 balls, right? They still don't have DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously, Kyler Murray's trying to find some things to make that offense go. They need to pick up a win here. Raiders kind of in a very similar situation. They need to keep up with this division. I feel like Jacobs and Connor are going to be really good GPP plays because both of them they're going to. I think Carr, respectively, and obviously Kyler Murray are going to have to go back to getting these guys involved here. I mean, the Raiders, I can't imagine them just being so pass heavy here. I mean, I get it; it's the Cardinals, but they got to get these guys involved. And I think that Jacobs, especially on DraftKings, is only 5.8K. Is somebody we should keep a lookout for. And then maybe, just maybe, it'll be that Tony Pollard that the Cowboys are going to realize, like, man, we don't have a lot of weapons through the air that we can rely on right now. Maybe Tony Pollard gets involved in that pass game or gets some really good looks. We know he's got some juice. So give me your opinion on GPP before we turn over to wide receiver.
Yeah, I like that. I like that take on Pollard, and I guess I did miss Jacobs' price there. I do like that against
Isn't that
Arizona.
crazy low though?
Yeah, it's pretty low. I mean, he only got 10 carries last week. They're playing from behind. Right. He didn't get as many receptions as you'd like, but he went down $500. I definitely think it's a pretty good pivot off of some of these guys. I was kind of looking at Wilson Jr. Once again, I don't like the San Francisco. I usually stay away from them. I guess maybe for a GPP instances because Mitchell's going to be out. Outside of that, I didn't see many. I haven't gotten to many value guys at running back that I liked. Yeah. Outside of that, but yeah, I mean. I think you can stay in the mid-range there, and pretty much as low as you need to go is Henderson and up.
Absolutely. I think that there was Shanahan came out and basically said that Jeff Wilson is going to be the running back one, and then we're going to kind of ride the hot hand after that. That's coach speak. You can look into that, whatever it is. Last thoughts for me on running back is that if I'm going back and getting to Jacobs and I'm looking at that price, the one thing that I keep thinking about is I always look at the matchups, right? I look at what was done previously. The Raiders obviously coming up against the Cardinals, and knowing that Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he had a great game against Arizona. So it shows the coaches that, hey, they can be exposed, by the running back. And then obviously the Chiefs, they had Eckler. Eckler wound up rebounding from a really good game. But, they may look at it here and they say, hey, look, the Chiefs really did some damage from that running back position against this team. Granted, it was on a couple of short passes for touchdowns that Edwards-Helaire wound up having a good game. But, man, I'm keep leaning going back to Jacobs. I just think that that's somebody who, could be really low owned, and maybe it gets us off some of that more obvious chalk, and we're not having to pay a premium for him. So, all that being said, you did mention we talked about GPP, and we were talking about the wide receiver position, which we want to go into. I think this is going to be the make or break. This is going to be the pick your stance, kind of thing, of where we're going to be at. If you don't want to say Devontae Adams' name, I completely understand. I know it's a very hurtful thing, but you got Cooper Kupp at 9.9K, and we had a lot of Cooper Kupp near 10Ks last year, and Cooper Kupp obviously can pay off. Like, he will pay you off. He will perform because this guy's going to get a ton of targets. He's going to be the focal point of the Rams offense right now. So maybe he is the pivot off of the Darrell Henderson, the running back situation. That could be something we could look at, because we do know that Atlanta, this is about a 10-point spread right now, Duff. So who are you looking at from a wide receiver position? I'll let you lead off here.
These guys are in a smash spot. Kupp, he's the highest priced guy on the slate, tied with Taylor, of course, and deservingly so. I definitely like him here. Maybe if you're doing a Mariota, play some Kupp. I'm going to keep him GPP. I think Adams is too low at 8,600, though. He's going to be the highest owned receiver, and I also think deservingly so. Those two, I don't mind mixing in a Chase with Burrow, of course.
Right.
Pretty much what I'm looking at there in cash games, but most likely Adams with maybe a car, stuff like that. That's what I'm looking at, high dollar. But definitely, of course, it's not a hot take, but Kupp's a great play and a great GPP play too. He'll be lower owned.
All right. I'm looking at it as you were finishing there. I was kind of digging in because we talked about Joe Burrow. Obviously, I see Jamar Chase in there. I did want to kind of look and try to find out if there was any update on T. Higgins' status. It looks like later afternoon he did practice. So obviously, it looks like Joe Burrow could have both of his top receivers available to him. But you're right. Like, the obvious, I think Devontae Adams to me is probably just somebody you just have to play here, especially against Arizona. This is going to be a game where he's just going to be featured, and it seems like they're committed to giving him. And I think that multiple players from that Raiders offense could absolutely pay off here, but he just seems like he's back to his old ways. You're thinking if you really want to get into deep game theory, these are both these are college teammates, right? With Derek Carr, they were at Fresno State, right? I believe you're more of a college guy than I am, but with these guys going back to it, obviously they have a connection there. There's a reason why they wanted him there with the Raiders. So I definitely want to target him. Jamar Chase, he can absolutely blow it up here against Dallas. That Dallas has a lot of those cornerbacks, Diggs, and a couple of these other guys in their secondary that are very boom bust. If they play that aggressive, Jamar Chase is just going to light these dudes up. But you could very well make a case and say, hey, you want to play Deebo Samuel here, that the Niners are going to get back to it about what makes them really good here as a GPP play. So all these guys that are kind of priced up in the high 7s and upwards into the 10K range on DraftKings are all in play, in my opinion. On FanDuel, kind of the same thing. I think Mike Evans is actually priced up on FanDuel, where he's only 6.8 on DraftKings. He is the 4th highest wide receiver there. He's ahead of Deebo Samuel, ahead of Tyreek Hill. Maybe that's dependent on what news comes out for Chris Godwin in the bunch. But yeah, man, wide receiver pay up. I think that it's wise. I was really high on AJ Brown, and he was kind of a, hey, prove it to me first. So he was actually lower owned than a lot of, I thought he was going to be. So in GPP, I put him in. I think about 70% of my lineups, and he wound up paying it off. It's hard to hit, especially that Millie Maker, man. You got to hit all the right pieces of the value plays. We're talking about price up pace as we kind of shift into that mid range. There, are there guys that kind of stand out to you, or anything that we should note?
Yeah, there's a few guys that got written down for sure. I'll see who I'm on the high. I am on the highest. I tell you what, I am on. So I'm trying to get into game theory and kind of get into GPPs a little bit, but even for cash or single entry, I'm not scared to go back to Marquise Brown. Especially, I mean, he got 14.5 last week at 6.2. He's still 6.2. I think his ownership will be low. I think people are going to go Dortch. I think this is a pretty killer spot for him. I would like to match him with Kyler in this game, and maybe do a little game stack. But I haven't decided if I want to go him or Dortch in cash yet. If I'm not afraid to play Brown in cash. That's what I kind of got written down here. I like guys like Sutton and Judy. They both had a high target share. They're playing Houston. If somehow somehow the game's close and they can smash those prices. Sutton kind of, he didn't underperform last week, but he got 7 targets. I think we're a little higher on him, but he was priced pretty high in that showdown. He's only 5'9", he's 6'1". And then Judy, man, he was. It's showdown, so they're going to be priced high. But I think actually on the slate, he's only went up 500, but they're playing a lesser opponent here. So I think a lot of people are going to be looking at the running backs for Denver, but those 2 receivers, I kind of like at mid range. Them are the guys I got written down.
Okay.
Another
Awesome.
guy. Wait, sorry, and I'll stop on this one. What do you think about? And I'm not afraid, especially in GPP, if you don't play Cup, I'm not afraid of going back to Robinson here.
Oh man, that's one thing I know, man. That's scary. That was something.
Scary. It is scary, but definitely GPP. I'm going to put them in. They're playing Atlanta, and you got to take those stands, and not maybe this week do it, but the next week really see where it is. But everybody jumps off board. Maybe go on board.
Yeah, I totally get that. I think that Allen Robinson, absolutely, he has talent. He's one of the guys that in dynasty leagues, I drafted him. I rode Allen Robinson as long as I could. He was in Jacksonville, then goes to Chicago. I know he's talented. It's just my thing is when Stafford, when it really comes down to it, it just seems like there's so many routes that are designed to go to Cup, and then everything is auxiliary to Robinson. It's what is he going to do whenever if Matt Stafford feels like he's one of those quarterbacks, man, that he will sling it, but I guess I think that I read a stat, something about the 2 most targeted seasons for wide receivers were Cooper Kupp and Calvin Johnson, and they had the same quarterback, right? So he's kind of the epitome of the guy that likes to zero in on his target. I think in GPP it works out because I think that's definitely something to look at. And I don't know, I think that the leverage play would say you play Robinson and then you don't play Kupp. You know what I mean? Like you play Robinson and you could stack them up. A lot of people will probably do that. You play him and then you play, the tight end Higbee or something like that. So, that's definitely game theory wise you can do. But me personally, I think I might stay away. So if he's lower owned and he goes off and I have to, have Allen Robinson be the one that kills me, so be it. But I get it. One of the things that I look at, Duff, and we kind of talked about this pre-show, is I'm really big on the matchups, right? I try to dig in, and I had some notes written down, and I had some guys that I wanted to kind of to talk about. And I think that he's a value play that some people are looking at. He's getting some ownership, but I really like, and I'm going to name some names, and you kind of tell me, as I go through, if there's somebody that you like or dislike. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think here against a pretty good, was supposed to be a good Commanders defense. I think that he's in a really good spot right here. The Commanders, like I said, against that particular side of things, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown has an excellent matchup. I think he's going to be a lot better. They do have DJ Shark there as well, so he's going to pull some coverage off there. Shark is a beast. I don't know if anybody knows a lot about DJ Shark. There's a lot of memes that go on about him, but he's 6'4", and he runs a 4.3 440. So the guy has size, he has speed. So obviously, Jared Goff has options there, and St. Brown had a big year last year. I definitely like that. Other side of that game, I love Terry McLaurin as well. Jahan Dotson came in 2 touchdowns as a rookie. Carson Wentz is pretty awful as a quarterback, in my opinion, ever since he took that concussion diving into the end zone for the Eagles. I mean, I had to hang up my Carson Wentz jersey, man. That was tough for me, but I really like that game a lot, and I think that both of those guys, both sides of that game, the receivers from a matchup standpoint, they're in a good spot. And then there's a few other that I wrote down. I know the Tampa Bay. I really like, Godwin being out, Russell Gage stepping up here. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that they said that Brady recruited Russell Gage. Like, I don't know if that was just from interdivisional matchup. He used to be a Falcons player. I don't know if that's right where he was at before he came over, but Julio Jones looks to be aging. I like Gage here a lot for Brady is kind of like the secondary receiver. The biggest thing about the Saints is they have their cornerback one. They have Marshawn Lattimore. Right. So he's going to go up against Mike Evans here. So that kind of leaves Gage the opportunity to work. And Brady is one of those quarterbacks that really likes to find guys that is just, he's going to be digging around. So he's somebody that I really like here. I'm hoping that Michael Pittman, if he's healthy, he's a guy that I really like that I had written down. And I think the other ones I had, let me see, was there anybody else? Oh, yeah, the New England-Pittsburgh game. And I'll kind of finish on there. I like the Pittsburgh receivers here. I think that this is going to be a game where they're going to get back to it. I was very underwhelmed. I'm not a big AFC AFC East, watcher here, but I'm not a big Patriots hater, big Patriots lover. I don't really care so much about them. They do their thing, but they look pretty awful here. And I think that this is a spot where Deontay Johnson, Claypool, those guys, they really get back to it here. Because Trubisky, he's the main deterrent there, which is why, you get Najee Harris because love there. But I think that these receivers can have a bounce back game here. Those are guys that I really like. But yeah, I mean, these are just people that I've looked at from a matchup standpoint. You're going to have the obvious, right? You're going to have the Cooper Kupps and all these guys. But, these are just ones on there. And I love the wide receivers for the Bengals here. I think we already talked about that. All those matchups, I kind of named some players there, some matchups, some games. Is there anybody that you like personally, anybody that stands out to you?
No, I love it. I got McLaurin written down, especially because I think people are going to overlook him. They're going to probably, just like the Marquise Brown situation with Dortch, I think they're going to try to maybe go Dotson at 4,200. And I like the McLaurin call for sure. St. Brown. To be honest, I like that game in general. And I've talked to you guys at the beginning of the season as I start to help with the NFL. I'm going to I don't know if this will be this week. I want to start doing an article for a showdown, the 1 p.m. showdowns, because DraftKings will have showdowns for pretty much every game. And there's 2 games I'm kind of targeting this week. It's the Giants and Panthers, and it's Detroit and Washington. I love the game in general, so I love those 2 plays that you named right there, St. Brown and McLaurin. But I think McLaurin, he can come out and just he can be a beast. And I do like Johnson on Pitt. His price went down, and he can be a reception monster. So. That's good
I was looking at that. I saw that. I was like, I was looking at the pricing, and I saw 5.8K on DraftKings. I was like, is this real?
Yeah. I think it's a great.
Yeah, those guys are wide receiver ones, but yeah, it's crazy, man.
Kirk, there's so many receivers. We're not going to get them all. Right. But yeah, Kirk is a great play. I got him written down. I didn't mention him, but as far as the middle tier, you might be able to get away from. I'm not going to say get away from Adams or Cup. Probably got to play Adams in a main cash. If you have an all cash, you can maybe. And I wanted to bring up the last guy I'll mention here. If you want to go to values, is Mike Thomas. Is it he only went up 100? I ended up. That's what kind of saved me. Even with McCaffrey last week, I went Pittman and Thomas in my cash. And of course we got a little worried there when the report came out that Thomas might be limited or whatever, but I didn't have enough time to kind of switch off. So I kept him and Pittman in. Thank God he came in at the end there and just kind of picked it up. But I like his targets. He should be around 7K most of the time. I got kind of, I used him probably too much last year. So I want to end there. What you think about Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those players. Like as you dig down, you talked about having so many options, right, on there. I was all over Michael Thomas this last week. He's what 5.8K. I mean, you really can't fault it there. People will say, "Oh, well, it's the touchdowns that bailed him out," or whatever it was, but. I mean, yeah, you talk about talented players, regardless of price. So I don't think that we need to worry too much about there. I even said, I think I told people right before, because that news came out about his snap count being limited, right? And that was right before lock or right at lock. And I was just like, I was already had my lineups built, had everything done. I was like, I'm not going to mess with it. I've done that before, man. That's what kills you is like right whenever something drops, you're like, you know what? Oh, I'm going to just abandon my research and I'm just going to say, I'm going to do this. And guess what? He paid off, man. It was exciting to see because I got him. I guarantee you ownership probably dropped on him by 15-20% maybe. And that was something that I really like to see. But yeah, keep an eye out, guys. Obviously, jump in our Discord. That's going to be an essential tool for you right before lock comes in. So we're kind of rounding this out, guys. We're going to talk about the tight end position briefly here, and then we're going to kind of wrap up defense and then talk about some core plays that we have. As we speed it up here, Duff, going to tight end, I think this is a position we don't have to talk a ton about here. I will say that on DraftKings, your highest priced tight end, definitely somebody to look at is going to be your Mark Andrews. Looks like George Kittle will possibly be out. This probably is going to be a pay down at tight end week. There's a lot of options out there. I was on Team Travis Kelce week 1. It paid off for me. A lot of people were like, "Oh, how can you pay this much for this guy?" I mean, he's 33 years old. He looked like he was in his prime still. Season's going to take a toll on him. I get that, but definitely love paying down at tight end today without a Kelce. I like Andrews. I'm not a huge fan. I think his price that you can stomach at 6.4K. I may lean towards like a Rashad Bateman here for Baltimore if I'm playing, but Andrews is fine. Kyle Pitts, people are going to go back to the well, 5.4K here against the Rams. They're going to need to move the ball, especially if they're playing from behind. He's still cheap on FanDuel at only 5.9K, and he's probably going to be the ownership guy everybody's going to look at here. But I'll give you a couple more of my plays. I'll let you round out the rest of tight end. But I definitely like TJ Hawkinson here. I think he's somebody to keep an eye on. I told you I like them on Ross A. Brown. I like DJ Shark here. I think that it says on here he has 7 targets from what I'm looking at. So obviously Hawkinson is going to be involved in the game plan in the end zone as well. We talked about Tyler Higbee earlier for playing the ownership pivot off of maybe a chalkier Cooper Kupp. Albert O is going to be the value play at 3.7K on DraftKings and probably on FanDuel too. Obviously, he's coming in as more of a value, 5.1 off FanDuel. I'm not probably going to be very high on Albert O. I'm going to want to kind of find these 4K range on DraftKings for tight ends, maybe 5, and then kind of go from there. Tell me your thoughts on the tight end position.
Yeah, tight end. I personally, at first look, I don't think it's gonna win the cash game for you. So yeah, I'll probably be paying down. I do like Andrews. One guy I like is Ertz in that AZ game. I like Ertz and Waller. Them are the 2 guys I got written down mostly. I'm gonna play one of those guys most likely, or I'm gonna go down to Akwugbunam. I had to look that up and I made sure I pronounced it right. And these long names, I got to start practicing more. Definitely for shows. So I'm going to be talking about him more. We used him a pretty good amount on the showdown, and he was priced reasonably. I think 37 is a good ask. You can drop down to maybe Brevin Jordan. I think his price went down. But those are the tight ends I'm kind of looking at. And I hate to backtrack a little bit. We didn't really talk about wide receiver value. I'm just going to name some really quick because I know we're running low on time. But a couple guys I like is Dotson, of course, Dortch. And another guy is Zay Jones. He's only 4,300. He's second on targets, I think, next to Kirk. So that's another pivot. And to go back to quarterback, I know we're talking about GPP. I don't mind Lawrence and them playing from behind, but I think Zay Jones is priced reasonable.
Yeah. He's definitely somebody I saw too, and I kind of looked at. He's going to be somebody I wanted to mention in Discord.
That's kind of we're gonna talk a lot in Discord before the games, before the slate. But just wanted to throw those guys out there to backtrack. But as far as tight end, I am looking at Ertz and Waller in my main line, and maybe some Albert O, like you stated.
Yeah. And before we move on, I think we kind of covered tight end, and we can kind of, mention it a little bit more. I will have a write up for top plays that's going to come out, and we'll obviously talk about them in Discord. But the last thing on the value play of the industry is going to be Greg Dortch, obviously 3.5K Arizona. When I look at the matchups and I kind of see who he's facing, there's a lot of, there's PFF, there's different rankings you can look at. Nate Hobbs is the Las Vegas Raiders slot corner. Dude was shut down his first year as a rookie. He was really good week 1 too. Dortch is going to be running out of the slot probably. You're going to have Marquise Brown on the left side, probably AJ Green, whoever on the right-hand side. But Marquise Brown has a premier matchup. I think according to this, it was Las Vegas had Anthony Everett on that side. If they keep Marquise Brown on that left side, he may eat here. I think Dortch actually has a really tough matchup here. Not saying you can't you have to get away from him at 3.5K. I'm just saying that there's a good chance that he's going to have a tough time of it because Nate Hobbs is not going to get bad overnight. You know what I mean? Yeah. Nobody's going to look at a matchup like that, and we could have really good leverage on there. And I'm very big on these matchups, man. Like I said, it helps me out in DFS because people just look at ownership, look at optimizers and things like that. Digging in is really going to help us avoid any of these busts. And, he's 3.5K. He doesn't have to do a ton here. I'm just saying, if he goes cash, he's probably not going to be my GPP value guy. Because if you bust and he's 60% owned, then you're doing okay, right? Because you're owning them. Everybody else owns them too. It kind of puts everyone on the same playing field for cash. So, that being said, moving on, we're going to talk real quick about a couple of defenses, and then we're going to wrap it up with the kind of our core plays that we have. Defense, like I said, I'm going to pick 2 here, Duff. I'll have you do the same. I don't even think there's like an ownership percentage one, but you really got to look at the Bengals. I say there's not an ownership one, but I already said I'm going to pick on the Cowboys. I thought it wasn't that bad, but they're looking at to be by far the highest owned. 2.2K on DraftKings. Just lock them in. I don't even want to give you the secondary one, but if there's another one I had to pick out that it's not going to be the Bengals, and I had the salary to absolutely spend up here, I'm also going to pick on probably the Jets here. I think that the Cleveland Browns defense, they're going to be pretty decent. The Jets are pretty awful there. That's going to be one. Or you can obviously look at the Buccaneers. They're always a good defense here against Jameis Winston, the crab leg killer. Who are your defenses? I know you love the Bengals, obviously, as well. But is there anybody that stands out to you besides them?
No, yeah. First look, I mean, pretty much because I want the skilled players this late. Bengals, and I have not looked deep enough to really see if I have a pivot I like. I'm pretty much on board with you there. With everybody you mentioned, I guess there might be some leverage with defense but defense can be a really risky area to start messing around. So I think I just went low last week with the Bears too, and the reason I went Bears is because. The field. I think the field, they showed a picture of the field. It was like a mess, and I just said, you know what? They're 2,200. I fit this other guy in, and I went with the Bears, and they got me 10, and that was fine for cash rooms.
Which
I think the Dolphins
were solid value.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's just a matter of, that's all I really got for defense. We can maybe talk in Discord about it some, and maybe I'll dive in some more, and but yeah.
All right. From a core play standpoint, we'll kind of get out of here after that, guys. I appreciate you guys joining us. Don't forget yourfielderschoice.com. Check us out on there. Obviously, we have our subscription half off right now for you to jump in on everything. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe and the bell for notifications. That helps us out tremendously on socials. We do appreciate that. Our Twitter handles are at the bottom, so you can obviously reach out to us or on Discord as well. It'll have a YFC in front of all of our staff members' names. Going into it, Duff, like from a course play, for me, I think that Davante Adams is going to be the first player in my lineup just because I know I want to get a piece from that game on the Raiders side of things. He just seems like the obvious play. He's going to be the first one in my cash game lineups. And I think, looking at it from the other side of things, like Marquise Brown, he's going to get really close to being there. He's only 6.2K, but I will just say from a standpoint of course, Davante Adams is number one, and I will go ahead and get a Bengals piece. I'm going to have to make a decision on whether I want to go like Burrow and one of the wide receivers and be very contrarian in cash games, or I want to play mixin. One of those pieces were going to be in my cash games because I am going to pick on the Dallas Cowboys and I am going to lock in the Bengals defense. I think that's pretty much being, enough to be said. And then, I think as I'm building in from a tight end standpoint, we kind of talked about that, about, it's not going to make or break your cash lineups and anything like that. But I keep leaning to TJ Hawkinson here. I really like those receivers, but he's only 4.7K. He's a borderline core play for me. I want to hear what you have to say in regards to some of your core guys.
Yeah, at the moment, I think last week I cored Mahomes and Kelsey. I am guilty of getting off Kelsey some. Bet I had two main lines, and Mahomes and him were in it. I wanted to stay somewhat to my conviction, but either way, it worked out. But yeah, so this week I'm looking at Kyler, definitely. I think Mixon. And then, you got to make some decisions on like Marquez Brown. I definitely think he's close. And then I'm trying to decide on tight end, either Ertz or Waller. It's going to be hard to get Waller and Adams together, but sure. I don't mind doing it. Arizona's not the best against. I think last year we attacked them a ton with tight end. Kelsey crushed them last week, and I think Waller has an opportunity to come out and really perform here against Arizona. Maybe a good not pivot off Adams.
For GPP, absolutely. Yeah,
exactly. Because Adams so high on, I'm just trying to decide if I want to play them both together, basically.
I don't think there's going to be. Yeah, there's not much resistance from the Cardinals there. So
no,
I hope Waller goes off.
No, they're tied with the Rams on 28.5 as the total of their team. So right. Maybe I'll go a Adams, Carr, and Waller line. So that's kind of what I'm looking at here. And I'm on board with you with Brown. And so it's either going to probably be Kyler or Carr for me, and then mix in with those guys.
Love that, man. Yeah, guys, like I said, we're going to talk more about GPP. There's a running back article from another one of our staff members, Eric. And, you're going to see some showdown stuff come out. Duff. We're going to be covering the Sunday Night Football. We're covering Monday Night Football. And like Duff said, he wants to probably going to cover some of the other showdowns because there's money to be made. Everybody's focusing in on the classic main slates. And guys, that's it. We ran a little bit long. I apologize. We just really wanted to dig in as we go through the year. Hopefully we'll shorten it up for you. I appreciate you guys joining us, listening in here at YFC, yourfielderschoice.com. Duff, I appreciate you as always, sir. Good luck. I know we got to grind out some college football as we go in. And
yes, sir.
It's V12. My name is Adam, guys. YFC here, proud partners with PrizePicks, PointsBet. Stay sharp with them, guys. This is YFC NFL, and we are out. Have a good day, guys.
Peace.